Book of Heaven, Volume 6. 10th to the 24th of October 1905. Page 99 to 103. October 10, 1905. The sign that the soul is perfectly clasped and united with Jesus, is that she is united with all neighbors. While I was very afflicted because of the struggles that blessed Jesus makes me suffer in waiting for him, this morning, making himself seen for just a little, he told me, "My daughter, I feel sorry for your sorrow and for seeing you as though immersed in bitter affliction because of my privation. I feel such pain because of your affliction, especially since it is because of me, that I feel it as if it were my own, and it is so great, that if all the afflictions of others were united together, they would not give me as much pain as yours alone, for it is only because of me. Therefore, show me your cheerful face, and make me see that you are content." Then he clasped himself tightly with me, and added, "The sign that the soul is perfectly clasped and united with me, is that she is united with all neighbors. Just as no clashing or disordered notes must exist with those who are visible on earth, so can no clashing note of disunion exist with the invisible God." October 12, 1905. The knowledge of self empties the soul of herself and fills her with God. Continuing in my usual state, blessed Jesus came for just a little and told me, "My daughter, the knowledge of self empties the soul of herself and fills her with God." Not only this, but in the soul there are many receptacles, and everything that can be seen in the world takes its place in these receptacles. Something more, something less, according to the concept of them that she makes for herself. Now, the soul who knows herself and is filled with God, knowing that she is a nothing, or rather, a fragile, rotten and stinking vase, is well wary of letting more filthy rot enter into her interior, which is the things that can be seen in the world. One who had a rotten wound and kept gathering more rot to put it on his wound, would be quite crazy. Now, the knowledge of self brings with it the knowledge of the things of the world, and therefore how everything is vanity, fleetingness, goods that are only masked, deceits, inconstancy of creature. So, knowing how things are in themselves, she is well wary of letting them enter into herself, and so all those receptacles remain filled with the virtues of God. October 16, 1905. The closer the soul draws to the love of God, the more she loses her own virtues. Having read a book which dealt with the virtues, I was concerned in looking at myself, for I could see no virtue in me. If it wasn't that I just want to love him, that I want him, that I love him, and that I want to be loved by blessed Jesus, nothing of God would exist in me. Now, as I was in my usual state, my adorable Jesus told me, "My daughter, the closer the soul comes to the end, so as to draw near the fount of every good, which is the true and perfect love of God in which everything will remain submerged and love alone will float, to be the engine of everything, the more she loses all the virtues she has practiced along the journey, to enclose everything in love and rest from everything, to love only. Do the blessed in heaven not lose everything to love only? In the same way, the more she advances, the less she feels the varied crafting of the virtues, because, investing them all, love converts them all into itself, keeping them at rest within itself like many noble princesses, working, itself alone, and giving life to all of them. And while the soul does not perceive them, in love she finds them all, but more beautiful, more pure, more perfect, more ennobled, and if she does perceive them, it is a sign that they are separated from love. For example, a soul receives a command, and she exercises obedience to obey that person in order to acquire virtue, to sacrifice her own will, and for many other possible reasons. Now, by doing so, she already perceives that she is exercising obedience. She feels the toil, the sacrifice that this virtue brings with itself. Another then, obeys, not to obey that person, nor for other reasons, but knowing that God would be displeased by her disobedience, she looks at God in the one who commands her, and for love of him she sacrifices everything, and obeys. In this, the soul does not perceive that she obeys, but only that she loves, because she has obeyed only out of love, otherwise she would have disobeyed anyway, and so with all the rest. Therefore, courage along the journey, because the more you move forward, the sooner you will enjoy in advance, also down here, the eternal beatitude of soul and true love. October 18, 1905. Everything is in increasing love and in remaining close to Jesus. This morning, as I was in my usual state, Jesus came all of a sudden and told me, "My daughter, what foolishness! Even in holy things they think of how to content themselves. If in holy things they make me flee, where shall I find a place in the actions of my creatures? What a mistake! When everything is in anticipating the actions of love, in executing them, gathering as many things as possible in order to increase love, and remaining very close to me to drink at the spring of my love, and to immerse oneself completely in my love. And yet, what a blunder! They do everything differently." Having said this, he disappeared. October 20, 1905. Divine justice converts the fire of sin into fire of chastisement. As I was in my usual state, after I struggled very much, blessed Jesus came for just a little, almost in the act of sending chastisements, and he told me, "My daughter, sin is fire. My justice is fire." Now, since my justice must remain always the same, just always in its operating, without receiving any profane fire into itself, when the fire of sin wants to unite to its own fire, it pours it over the earth, converting it into fire of chastisement. October 24, 1905. The miseries of the human nature serve to reorder in it the order of all virtues. While considering my misery, the weakness of human nature, I felt I was an object so very abominable to myself, and I imagined how much more abominable I am before God. And I said to myself, "Lord, how ugly the human nature has become." Now, coming for just a little, he told me, "Nothing has come out of my hands which is not good. On the contrary, I created the human nature beautiful and striking, and if the soul sees it as muddy, rotten, weak, abominable, this serves the human nature like manure serves the earth." One who does not understand what it is all about, would say, "This one is crazy, for he smears the earth with this filth," while one who understands, knows that that filth serves to fecundate the earth, to make the plants grow, and to render the fruits more beautiful and tasty. So, I created the human nature with these miseries to reorder in it the order of all virtues. Otherwise it would remain without the exercise of true virtues. Then I saw in my mind the human nature as though full of holes, and in these holes there was rot, mud, and from within them branches loaded with flowers and fruits were coming out. So I comprehended that everything is in the use we make, even of miseries themselves.